15th meeting of the school committee to order, and that's the first order of business is know what day it is. Let me take a quick run through the agenda and then we'll jump right in. We will start with public comment. We'll have our focus on excellence. We'll move to the consent agenda. We will take reports. In the new business section tonight, we're going to have our Q1 for FY26 human resources update. We'll have an update from the teaching and learning, or the learning and teaching team in the high school on our math pathways. We're going to have a discussion and a vote, probably a series of votes on FY27 or school year 27 fees. We're going to review school year 27 kindergarten projections. And then, by now, everybody who's watching this probably has heard the news that Dr. Milichewski will be leaving the district at the end of the year. We will sort of initiate the search process tonight. We'll have much more to say about his departure later this evening as well. But we'll initiate our search process for our next superintendent at the end of the evening. So that is our agenda for today. Let's start with public comment. So if there's anybody who'd like to speak to anything that's not on the agenda, now's your moment. Okay. Let's move then to our focus on excellence. And Dr. Milichewski, I'll kick it to you.
Great. We're thrilled tonight to be joined by many members of DECA and also DECA advisor, Ms. Rosenfeld. It is truly spectacular to see what's happened in DECA over the last couple of years. I think, as you'll hear a little bit about from them shortly, first, just the level of participation. It is crazy to see how many more students have been involved in the last couple of years, particularly this year, and I'll let Anna give some of those stats. Two, just the success that DECA has had both on the team level and the individual level, with most recently 50 students qualifying for state. So it's just awesome to see DECA take off in our community, so many students be engaged and so many students thriving. So tonight you're going to hear from some of our students a little bit of their pitch, and then also you're going to hear some of the ways that the community can support DECA's ongoing work as they prepare for states, and then I'm sure as some prepare for national/internationals. So with that, I don't know if Ms. Rosenfeld wants to come up or the team wants to come up. If you don't mind coming around, maybe on the, what do we think, the chairs?
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Share some microphones.
You need to speak and talk that. Also, once I get up, you can take. And then who's after me? Sabrina, and then we'll just bring over.
It's around.
Yeah, the camera follows you. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
One over there, one over there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we can do this one. See, it works. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. We truly appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk about our success, specifically their success. My name is Anna Rosenfeld, and I'm a business teacher at Reading Memorial High School, as well as the DECA advisor. DECA is an international career and technical student organization with over 300,000 members worldwide. In the last 2 years, just like Mr. Milichewski said, DECA has exploded here. In 2023, we had 17 members, and we currently have 154 active student members participating in DECA. This month, we competed at the District 4 regional competition, where 50 of our members placed in the top 4 of their event, qualifying them for the State Leadership Conference that will take place in Boston this March. That's the largest number of qualifiers in Reading history. Running DECA brings me so much joy. I've watched countless students come out of their shells, gain professional skills, and become confident leaders inside and outside of the classroom. None of this would be possible without these incredible student officers, so I will turn it over to them to discuss some of the progress and accomplishments we've had this school year. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sabrina Sweat and I am the Vice President of Leadership for Reading DECA. Here with me tonight are Bridget, Elle, and Jacqueline. Unfortunately, our entire leadership team could not be here with us tonight. We want to recognize our President, Paige Cusalito, our Vice President of Career Development, Sierra Sherman, and our 2 Vice Presidents of School-Based Enterprise, Ted Ravens and Ada Mullen. DECA is an amazing club for students to be a part of. It teaches valuable skills such as leadership and public speaking, and helps students gain confidence and experience in the business world. DECA provides business education in 5 main sectors: entrepreneurship, marketing, finance, hospitality and tourism, and business management, which help provide students with pathways to explore and gain knowledge in these topics. There are two main types of DECA events, role plays and written events. In role plays, students must think on the fly. They receive a real-world scenario and must prepare a solution to present to a judge. For written events, students prepare a 20-page paper and a 15-minute presentation to be brought in and presented to a judge. These events require students to not only expand their content knowledge, but also employ durable skills needed to be successful in the workforce. There are 3 rounds of DECA competition: districts, states, and internationals. Only the top 4 competitors advance to the next round in each level of competition, and as Ms. Rosenfeld mentioned, we recently had a very successful district competition. Some of the winning projects are extremely impressive. We had students research and apply innovative strategies to existing local businesses, including iDrive or Saturday Night Lights. We also had students create their own complex business plans for innovative products, including 3D printed braille and a canned beverage improving a woman's daily iron intake. We are so proud of our club's hard work and cannot wait to see what these students do at the state competition in Boston. But DECA is more than just an academic club, and I will hand it over to Bridget to further discuss DECA's presence in the Reading community.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Puelli, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing. Our goal for DECA at Reading Memorial High School is to stay involved with our community while helping students build real-world business skills. This year, we focused on outreach activities that allowed us to connect with both our school and the larger Reading community. At RMHS, we organized a booth at the activities fair to recruit new members. With these members, we organized weekly meetings as well as mock competitions and tutoring sessions. This year, we created an initiative to engage with the larger Reading community. My fellow officers and I managed a booth at the Reading Fall Street Fair where we promoted our chapter and talked with community members about DECA offerings. In the spring, we also visited both Parker and Coolidge Middle Schools to introduce incoming high schoolers to DECA and encourage their future involvement. Within our school, we held DECA financial literacy workshops during free blocks to prepare students for their events as well as the real world. We also had members operating Rocket Retail, our school store, where they had the chance to apply real business skills and grow our store inventory and revenue. A big shout out to our business partner Dynamic Sports, who provided inventory for our school store, as well as a shout out to all of the amazing teachers and administrators at RMHS. Our club growth and involvement would not be possible without the help and support of the administrative team. Thank you to the principals at RMHS, as well as the superintendent and assistant superintendent for your endless support and for inviting us here tonight. I will pass it to Elle to discuss our service mindset.
Good evening. My name is Elle Hahi, and I'm the Vice President of Finance for DECA. Today, I want to briefly discuss our chapter service mindset, which is about using our time, skills, and connections to make a real impact on others. Service is extremely important to us. So many people in our community support our club, and we want to give back to show our appreciation and philanthropic mindset. One example of this was our bouquet making project run by junior member Madeline Stairs. Groups created handmade bouquets that were donated to local women's shelters with the goal of spreading kindness around the local community. More than 2,000 flowers were donated from our DECA chapter. A big shout out to these donors, including Caloriso's Farm Stand, Readingtown Florist, Hillside Florist, and Eric's Shop. We also organized a spike ball tournament aimed at providing scholarships to DECA students. Our club's largest philanthropic initiative this year was aimed at raising awareness and funds for cancer research and treatments. We partnered with the Lombardo Legacy Fund, a foundation created in honor of one of our DECA members' uncles that provides financial support to cancer patients and their families. This initiative was led by 3 sophomore DECA members, Julia Silva, Zana Jelaskovic, and Lily Weaver. They were able to raise over $1,000 for the foundation through the Pied Teacher event, where 10 RMHS teachers got a full face of whipped cream at the pep rally. The entire school rallied around the cause. The Lombardo Legacy Fund partners with the Joe Andruzzi Foundation, created by the New England Patriots alumni Joe Andruzzi after his battle with cancer. Joe Andruzzi came to RMHS to speak about his life experiences in the foundation. It was an amazing event for more than 150 students in attendance. This DECA assembly helped bring awareness to the cause, create powerful connections, and inspire lasting change. Together, these experiences show how our chapter turns compassion into action through service.
Hi everyone, to close this out, my name is Jacqueline Cusalito and I'm Vice President of Career Development for our DECA chapter. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about our club. If you want to stay connected to what our team is doing, please follow us on Instagram at DECA RMHS. We share updates, competition highlights, and ways to support our club members. We also offer a business sponsorship program for those who are interested in getting more involved. I am so proud of our club's growth and success, but unfortunately more students makes for larger expenses. Our upcoming trip to the State Career Development Conference will be a large financial barrier for our club. The 3-day, 2-night conference is an extremely valuable networking and professional opportunity that allows Reading to stand out amongst other high-achieving towns across the state. States provides real-world experience by building leadership skills, confidence, and career readiness that extends beyond competition. Last year, I had the opportunity to compete at the highest level of competition in Orlando, Florida. There, I honed my networking skills, interacting with 22,000 students from across the globe. DECA has made a lasting impact on me and how I view the professional world, and I know that I'm ready for any interview or job. We are currently looking for local businesses in the Reading area to sponsor us. Any amount is greatly appreciated. All funds will go directly towards student travel expenses, including transportation, lodging, competition registration fees, and required materials. These costs add up quickly, and fundraising ensures every student has the opportunity to compete. As a sponsor, we will recognize your business on our social media, school newsletter around RMHS, and on our banner at the state conference in Boston. If you would like more information or are interested in sponsoring, you can contact Ms. Rosenfeld directly or reach out to our club president. We are also launching Snap Raise beginning on January 12th. To support us, please email anna.rosenfeld@reading.k12.ma.us, or you can reach out to our student president by phone at 781-670-4056. Thank you again for your time and generosity and continued support of our chapter. We are incredibly grateful for this community and for everything you do to help our students succeed. Your support will help our current members as well as create the foundation for DECA to expand in years to come.
Any questions or comments from anyone on the committee? Go ahead, Tom.
First of all, none of you were around when this started, I don't think, because you're a little bit, older than when it first started back in COVID era, 2019, 2020. So it's amazing to see the growth of this club, and it was very difficult to start when it started. So I just want to, congratulate you all for the growth that you did. And I have one question. Have you calculated how much you would want or need from a fundraiser perspective in order to go to states? And if you extrapolate out nationals, have you figured out either one or both?
So the cost of our students to attend without the fundraising, should I sit down?
Sure.
Would be over $500 for each student, but we were hoping to raise $10,000 to cut the cost down to $300 per student. It would be about $310, I believe. So $10,000 off the current $28,000 would be our goal.
So you need a total of $28,000 between
To pay for
student
everyone?
payment and whatever you raise?
Yes.
Okay. That's the task, Reading community, $28,000.
Tom, I thought you were about to pull out a check or something.
You want his credit card?
It was like $1,500. Tell them. Sabrina, you do it.
For internationals, obviously, we don't know yet how many students will be qualifying, hopefully many, but last year we paid about $1,500 per student to go to internationals, so that number, hopefully we'll be able to get it down this year, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more people to internationals as well.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Yeah. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'm blown away by a few things. I shared a few up front. One, growth. I think Ms. Rosenfeld, you shared 17 to 154 in just a couple years. That's crazy. 2, achievement, talking about the highest amount of students ever to achieve to participate in states, which is awesome. 3, the partnerships. It's so encouraging to see all the ways that this community is engaged, but as a result of your outreach and seeking partners, to think about how many people are along and invest in this ride with you. And then fourth, like I know many of you shared that this is so valuable for you in developing networking skills and other like durable skills. But I'd also like to say I'm just so impressed to see the ways that you are also impacting positively our community, both here at RMHS and beyond, for causes that I know are so personal and so important to so many of us too. So just with that, a huge thank you to all of you, student officers, Ms. Rosenfeld. Like your leadership is what sort of sparked this to be in such an awesome position, and we are really excited to support you and to celebrate you and hopefully have some awesome news to report from the States.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch. Hopefully, we bring home a lot of trophies.
That's right. All right, well, thank you all very much. Before we let you go, we do have a tradition. If you are recognized in Focus on Excellence, you have to take a picture with us here in the front. So that's the
some
deal. So if you could join us in the front, that'd be great.
That will help the quest for 28K.
Go in there. Lead the way, lead the way.
That's our smiling faces.
Jeffrey's ready to go.
Jeffrey.
All right, he knew what I was going to ask him.
Love all the female representation. It's amazing. We're very female dominated.
I think that's fantastic. We need more female leadership.
Let me slide behind them. No, you're not less important. I just need to get behind them so they can actually make this work.
Good luck. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yep.
All right, so let's move to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are all here, so, oh yeah, we need to redistribute microphones. While we're doing that, you can still raise your hands. All in favor?
Aye.
I see a microphone up, okay. All opposed, that carries 5-0. Let's move to reports.
Sean, can I just make one quick comment?
Please.
Just like to
Yeah.
say on the consent agenda, you'll see the last donation came in through Claudia Mixon Fanaras for the fitness center, which completes the entirety of the $500,000+ donation. So a huge thank you to Claudia. Anyone who's been by the fitness center, I know a ton of students have been peeking in. Flooring is down and equipment's coming in tomorrow in the fitness center. And then also flooring's also down in the athletic training room. That leaves at this point just equipment, mirrors, and decals/branding, so that by the end of the first week of January, that should be all set. We will have a ribbon cutting ceremony and things like that too, so more to come. But since that last piece came in, I just want to say a huge thank you to Claudia again, and things look great.
Absolutely. And if anybody out there watching hasn't seen it, our last meeting, we had a good video demo and run-through of what that facility is going to look like, so you can get a preview for that as well. So let's move to reports, and we'll start with Alex.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I am all alone tonight, so I don't have Sachi to help me out, so I'll take the brunt of it. First thing is actually in relation to the new fitness center. The word has kind of gotten around. It wasn't as public before, but now things are spreading, people are talking, and I just want to report on behalf of the student body that everyone's really, really excited for the new equipment. I know, and I may have been responsible for this, but the word spread around about all the great equipment that we're getting and the new flooring. I talked a little bit. But it's something to be proud of for the school district, and of course, everyone's super excited. You know, it's a source of pride, and it's a source of we are going to be able to upgrade our facilities, our athletic department. So we're all super grateful for that and really looking forward to it. But for the usual stuff, the upcoming events first, tonight is the Winter Choir Concert. It's happening right now. I'm probably going to head down there just when I'm done with this report. Fantastic. The band concert was last week. Everyone's expecting the choir concert to be the same. It's all great. Thank you to Mr. Mullen for putting that together. On the 23rd, we have early release for our winter recess, which all of the students, once again, are really looking forward to. Super long break this year. A good chance to relax, get away from school for a little bit before coming back for midterm season. On that note, midterms are happening January 20th through 23rd. Like I said last time, it's kind of hard to believe that it's coming up so fast, but it's something we're all getting ready for. On January 26th, there will be a PTO board meeting. It's their quarterly meeting from 7 to 8 p.m. here in the RMHS library. On January 29th is Career Day. That'll be during the school day for the junior class and any interested seniors, just to kind of go around, take a look at different career options that we want to explore after high school, after graduation. And also on January 29th is 8th grade arts freshman night. Time is still to be determined, but it will be in the Performing Arts Center downstairs. For the news, RMHS's new financial education and early college credit partnership. RMHS is partnering with Empower ED, Endicott College, and the Reading Cooperative Bank to bring a financial literacy dual enrollment course, which is also a pilot course, to seniors this spring. 25 seniors will take the pilot course with Liz Longeal and an Endicott College professor at no cost to the students, thanks to a very charitable donation from the Reading Cooperative Bank. The goal is to run this course for students in the 2026-27 school year for any student at RMHS. Like I mentioned earlier, recently the winter band concert was a great success, and much of the band then got on a plane and headed down to Disney World to perform in a parade, which I've heard from a few of my friends in the band was a huge, huge success. They had so much fun, got to see some stuff behind the scenes at Disney, which not a lot of people get to do, so that was pretty awesome for them. And once again, thank you so much to Mr. Mulligan and Mr. Mullen for making this a reality for our students. And then the last thing, all eligible students in the junior class will soon be invited to apply to the National Honor Society. Students that are interested in applying are reminded that they can build service hours starting freshman year. Students need 40 service hours, 2 leadership positions, a 3.5 GPA, and to be in good standing academically to be as a student to apply. More details are included in the student handbook located on the RMHS website. So that is all the news and updates. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Dr. Milichewski?
No report.
No report. All right, let's move to liaison reports. Aaron?
No report.
Tom?
No report.
I'm going to save Carla because I know she's got one. Laura?
No official report, but can I give a couple quick shout outs?
Please.
I went to the Friends of Metco holiday brunch a couple weeks ago, and that was lovely, and I just wanted to say that it was really nice to see the support for that program continue in our community, so I just wanted to give a shout out to the Friends of Metco group for that. And then I also went to the JE 4th and 5th grade musical this week, which is a new endeavor that Caitlin Shelburne and the specialists at JE put together this year, and that was really fun, and I think the kids enjoyed it a lot, so I just wanted to give them a shout out as well for taking the time and energy and putting that together for the parents to enjoy. So, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Carla?
Just a quick Killam update. We had our latest KSBC meeting on December 15th. We recently put out 3 requests for services for code reviews, for a tax consultant, for any grants associated with the Inflation Reduction Act. If we're bringing on a tax person for our tax corporation for that, in case we have to make any changes to the design to incorporate, so we could potentially go for reimbursements when they're done. And the last one was for materials testing and construction inspection services. The bids were due back to the OPM this past Monday, so we'll find out. We actually didn't get any back for the tax consultant because they want more information, so we're going to extend that. There's a lot of interest, just they want more information. So I figured it's easier just to talk about some of the meetings that have taken place over the since our last meeting. There's been a lot of meetings on the RISE preschool design, the layout of the big room. It sounds easy, and it's actually not. The themes that we're going to use in the preschool, we have a riveting meeting today about the sign on the outside of Killam. It's not easy to pick things like that. And we, in our last meeting, we're setting up a pre-qualification working group. So we have, it's part of Mass General Law with subcontractors. They're called filed subbids, and contractors, and they all need to be approved by our group prior, and the state, prior to us going out for bid. So we're going to be going through that process. The committee approved an ad alternate, which I think we talked a little bit about potentially last week, but it was approved by the committee to do off-site work on Charles Street and Haverhill Street. It's something called an ad alternate, where you have a base bid that contractors will bid on, but then there's these other options that we, as a committee, after the bids come in, will decide if we want to add on any of that additional work. And the premise is, if you're under budget, you could take on those items. And if you're not under budget, then you don't take on those items. So that's something we'll be looking at. We also approved a 1099 position for a facilities clerk. So that's someone to help us out during construction. Our facilities department has their own full-time jobs where they have a skeleton crew to begin with, and then they're going to have every other construction project that goes on, in addition to the Center for Active Living and Killam. So we feel good about bringing on a person we're going to be bringing him on shortly to start some of the design review, so he is up to speed, and then he'll be on the site kind of monitoring construction. So we're looking forward to that. And the committee also voted to approve an early package for its switchgear electrical equipment that has a long lead time, and we don't want it to delay our contractor in any way, so we are going to put that out on the street as well.
Any questions? Carla's got her hands full. It's not obvious.
You think?
I will also say, so, we've said it publicly, I'll say it again, we're incredibly lucky to have Carla, the level of commitment and engagement you have to this. We're also incredibly lucky to have all the expertise that we have on the Permanent Building Committee, because this stuff is in the weeds, and my eyes glaze over in some of these meetings, and I have no idea what they're talking about, and having all the PBC members who know exactly what they're talking about is invaluable. So we're very lucky to have the people that we do at the helm of this thing, I would say, so.
Good move on the town's part
Yeah.
to enact a permanent building committee.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move then to new business. We will start with our HR update, and Michelle, if you want to, I suppose, take Alex's spot up here at the microphone.
Thanks, Alex.
Hello?
Good evening, everyone. So this update is to provide a snapshot of the HR activities to date for school year 25-26. I'm going to focus on hiring, retention, leaves, internal mobility, and long-term trends with some year-over-year context where helpful. So my first slide, to date, we have filled 92 positions across all roles this school year. Compared to this point last year, teacher hiring is down from 39 last year to 26 this year. That reduction reflects fewer vacancies and stronger retention. We currently have 0 open teaching positions, which is a meaningful indicator of staffing stability. Hiring levels for administrative, secretarial, and facility roles are largely consistent with last year's numbers. Food service and paraeducator hiring totals are lower than last year. Last year's higher numbers were driven by turnover and backfill needs. This year, we're seeing fewer vacancies overall, and the 5 paraeducator openings that we currently have open right now are all recent as of December 1st. This reflects normal movement within that workforce rather than persistent vacancies. We find around this time with the winter recess coming up that this is a natural breaking point where if we are going to see vacancies, this is typically when they occur. And that's been cyclical over the school years. Our long-term substitute hiring fluctuates annually and is directly tied to leave volume, so comparisons in this category tend to normalize year over year. Next is our school year leaves and terminations, all roles. Year to date, we've had 12 resignations compared to 23 resignations at the same point last year, which represents a significant reduction. We have had 0 teacher resignations to date this school year, as I mentioned earlier. The majority of resignations are concentrated amongst paraeducators, and many of those occurred after December 1st. Up until December 1st, there were only 6 resignations across the district for the school year. Another important trend is tenure. Most resignations involve employees who are relatively new to the district. Only 4 individuals had worked in the district for more than 3 years, and 6 were hired within the last year. This pattern is consistent with what we typically see, where early career attrition is more common than departures among long-term staff. Leave activity remains active and expected. A significant portion of these leaves are instructional, including maternity leaves, which we plan for annually and we manage through an established coverage process. Overall, these data points point to improved retention and workforce stability compared to last year. Internal mobility, it continues to be a strength in the district. Paraeducators represent the largest area of movement, often transitioning into specialized programs or long-term roles. We're also seeing upward movement in operational roles and specialized instructional positions. These transitions reflect intentional career pathways rather than turnover. And finally, we have resignation data by bargaining unit. This chart shows multi-year resignation trends by bargaining unit, and the key takeaway is the stabilization across most groups compared to the post-pandemic peak. The year-to-date data aligns with what we've reviewed, fewer resignations overall and fewer departures amongst long-tenured staff. Taken together, the data reflects a district that has moved into a more stable staffing phase with fewer vacancies, fewer resignations, and stronger internal retention. I do want to pause to acknowledge the work behind this. Much of this stability is the result of the consistent, thoughtful work of our principals. I also want to thank Andrew Gutchess and Kristen Cohen, who have been instrumental in supporting hiring, onboarding, leaves, and day-to-day operations. So as we move through the remainder of the school year, our focus will remain on maintaining this stability, responding to predictable staffing needs, and continuing to support schools and staff as needs arise. Thank you, and I will now take any questions that you have.
Go ahead, Carla.
I'll make a comment that in the majority of us up here who've been in this role for 5+ years or more, I have seen a drastic change in the services we're receiving out of your group. And the level of professionalism, these numbers tell a story, and I know it's not one person, but it's a whole, it's reflective across the district. It is, I think, so key to have HR professionals who continually head off issues that arise and deal with difficult issues when they come up. You know, to have exit interviews and things like that is just, it is so helpful. It's one of those behind the scene things, but I'm going to say, I'm going to speak for the committee that we really value you and what you and, you know, your department do for the district, because it's huge. And we've seen it at all different stages and all different times, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we need to put these indications of stability in our prospectus for prospective superintendent candidates, because this is
I'm
not
not
something.
ready to talk about that yet, Sean.
Well, you know, we're about to, so it's not something you see in every district. So, you know, just echo everything Carla said. We really appreciate the work that you and your team do to put us in this position, and the whole team does to put us in this position. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
Great job.
Thank you.
Nice clean update. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So from there, we are moving to math pathways. I think we have all of our resident experts here in attendance. Dr. Hardy, are you kicking us off on this one?
I am, yeah. I'll just wait for the team to come up and get
Awesome.
situated.
Should we move some more microphones?
We need microphones again?
Yeah.
Are we sure the camera was picking them up? Because I
It
have,
picks the first seat up, so slide
First seat
this
up.
way a
Okay,
little
good.
bit.
You said, here, switch with me. Viewers at home want to see.
Just making
She's making you get on camera.
Well, we are excited this evening to be here to talk again with you about math pathways here in the Reading Public Schools. As you know, this has been ongoing work over the years as we've sought to ensure that the course options available to our students really reflect what we think is rigorous courses that all of our students can select, regardless of which path they take. We also have worked really hard to ensure that there's flexibility, and so that students have options as they go through their years in middle school and high school. And finally, wanting to make sure that all students, regardless of if they are sort of a top math student or a more typical math student, that they also have choices that are going to support their college and career plans. And so tonight, we're going to have some options presented to you that we are considering, that the high school is considering for the program of studies, that I think is going to fix a few of the lingering problems that we've had in our math pathways. We've made some tweaks over the years, and I'm really excited to have the team talk us through these options, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end. So I'll turn it over to Trey and Principal Callanan.
I just want to say, I'm going to let Mr. Scan talk predominantly, but he's the expert. However, the department head, Adam Krupacher, planned on being here tonight virtually, but he had a family emergency. We've been working in concert with him and Dr. Hardy and Dr. Milichewski throughout. On to you, Trey.
Where do we want to start?
And it's up there, too.
All right. So we're looking at three ways of addressing, or three courses, kind of to address some of the lingering problems that we have had in the math department for 12 years?
13.
13, something like that.
But who's counting?
I'd say a while. All right. So these are the three courses, just as bullet points. These are the three courses. Actually, one of them is two classes that I've been thinking about for a little while. The first is Honors Algebra 2 with trigonometry, which would be available to students coming out of Honors Geometry. And this would accelerate them in a one-year course that would skip them over pre-calculus and get them into an AP Calculus course after taking Algebra 2, instead of a year in between. The second one is an integrated pathway for 9th and 10th graders to more heavily focus on their Algebra 1 skills to prepare them for success in our standard college prep Algebra 2 course as juniors. And the third one is to take the current AP pre-calculus and split it into two different groups. The course is designed around 4 units, but the test itself is only dependent upon 3 of the units. And it is the idea of many of the people who designed the course to open opportunities for kids to take that class. So we would offer 2 different levels of it. One which would cover the full 4 units, and the second which would cover just the 3 units. This makes a little more sense if we take a look at the flow chart here, and should be somewhat color-coded, where the new courses are in green and where they fit into our pathway. So as you can see, the Algebra 2 with trigonometry would take the kids and accelerate them through taking out the redundancies that occur between Algebra 2 and pre-calculus, and just accelerate them from Honors Geometry into AB Calculus, kind of doubling up the same way they do with the 7 and 8, and they squeeze those together to get rid of the redundancies. This would be a similar idea. One thing that does come out of this is to move to a model that I have found over the last 5 or 6 years a lot of schools have moved to or have had for some time, which is to, instead of offer AB or BC, to offer those calculus courses in sequence. I've been teaching BC calculus since the 2019-2020 school year, which was a great way to end my first year with it. And I have found that the end of the course is always very kind of hit or miss because there's so much curriculum in it that we are pushing kids to learn what to do without really thinking about how it's done or why it's done. And I've reached out to some of my students who took BC Calculus as juniors or took it as seniors, like my son did, and offered them this idea and asked for their feedback. And a lot of them liked that idea of stretching it out so that they could go into more depth with the more complex topics that happen at the end of the year. It also would allow for some of our highest achieving kids to get a foothold with some of the higher level math topics that they might encounter in a physics or math or engineering curriculum in college, like an introduction to linear algebra or some of the multivariable calculus ideas, parameterization, stuff like that. So that's the first one there. Some schools already have this in place where the students do skip pre-calculus as a formal class and go from that trigonometry Algebra 2 course directly into AB Calculus. It also gives a lot of those students an opportunity to take an AP Math course as juniors, get a score, put that on their college applications, and decide whether they want to take the BC after that. Maybe they don't. Maybe they want to study something which isn't so math heavy, and they've got that done as a junior, and they can look at other options. They can take the economics course, they could take statistics, and not have it be a total clog on their schedule. So the other one, the second one that came up was the integrated math pathway, which is really designed around kids who are coming out of 8th grade who maybe don't have the strength of Algebra 1 that we would hope for success in a full year paced Algebra 1 course. So this would be taking the Algebra 1 and geometry curriculum and kind of taking out the redundant geometry or the less important geometry topics and really focusing on the Algebra 1. So that over that 2-year window, they get an extensive Algebra 1 background so that when they go into a CP Algebra 2 course, the chance of success, in theory, would be much higher. It also does allow for students who maybe did struggle in Algebra 1 as 9th graders to go into that path as 10th graders without putting them in this, forever negative pathway in math, because they can get right back into Algebra 2 after that. So there are ways that kids can rise right back up into what would be an expected pathway. And the third one there is right in the middle. It's the AP Pre-Calculus with 3 units. This, in our mind, would be available to students who maybe didn't have the best Algebra 2 honors experience, who struggled a little bit in there, and they can go down into that course, or they were in Algebra 2 CP, and they did wonderfully and really excelled in there, and this would give them an opportunity to take an AP Math course as a junior or as a senior, and be prepared for the test, be fully prepared for the test. And actually, that course does give them the basic requirements to, if they do really well in there, to have the base to be successful in AB Calculus. I mean, it's probably a stretch for some of them, but it's not something where there's a foundational piece of AB that they need that they wouldn't get in the 3 units. So that's my spiel.
And I just want to add a few things. What?
What did I forget?
Well, I think you'll jump off of the things that I have to say. One of the big, Trey and I and Adam have been talking about this last summer, and brought it to Dr. Hardy and Dr. Milichewski at the start of the school year, and then we talked about it again recently. There is a push because we are in the process of updating and publishing the program of studies for next year. We're already in that choosing your classes timeframe, or we will be soon. And so we feel like this is really important as a continuation of the work that we've done and the team has done on the math pathways, but also really emphasizes a lot of elements of things being equitable for students and not relying on outside math courses to be able to access high-level math, at the high school. This gives kids an opportunity to do those things within the confines of the courses that we offer already. And I think it also correlates with, which is somewhat of a new requirement at Reading Memorial High School, of 4 years of math, which our students all are required to have 4 years of math, which aligns with the Mass Core upon graduation, but it just gives some other options. And so I think Trey said that in the past, some students were like, okay, I'm a junior and I've finished AB Calc, what next, right? And really want to go into mathematics or into that field in college, and they still want that hard math. We are going to have to make some decisions around who are recommended for these classes, teacher recommendations, but also using probably 7th grade math data, our MCAS data, because we won't have the 8th grade yet, as well as iReady, is that right? iReady data to determine where students are recommended, coming into 9th grade. And they intentionally use first year, second year, third year, because it's not necessarily 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. And so looking at it, it looks very linear, but there are different entry points for kids coming into high school. I think that's it. Anything?
One of the goals of this is to really create an easier path for kids who are highly successful, to challenge themselves without having to be too much of a challenge. There are ways that kids could take that challenge. If it doesn't work, there are still really high-level courses for them to slide back down into, where we haven't had that in the past. Another one is the equity piece comes back to a lot of these kids that I have had who are juniors taking BC Calculus have done outside pay-for programs. So there are a lot of kids who are definitely capable of that level of work, who don't have that opportunity or just haven't wanted to spend, 2 nights a week for the last 4 years doing some program like that, who definitely could have done it. And it'd be nice to give them that similar opportunity to do within the confines of just take these classes and you can do that.
I've got questions. I'm sure others do.
Let her start.
Erin, you want to go first?
No questions. I just want to say how much I love this. We've been talking about this for years. We've been pushing for more options for years. Like, this is a thing of beauty. All the arrows, all those on-ramps are possibilities for students to switch tracks depending on where they're at. And I think for people who have had children go through high school math, you can especially appreciate this, that I feel like you represent all learners on here, which is just so vital, and it gives students the opportunity to get challenged where they're at, get their needs met, and there's really no cap on it either, which I love. I mean, there's probably a scenario where a student could take summer geometry, come into Algebra 2 trig as a very advanced freshman, and have an open option senior year for something else. So I love that we are embracing that kids learn at different paces, and that we have kids that are highly motivated and highly gifted. We have kids that need more support. I'm very, very excited about this.
Thank you.
Tom, go ahead.
So I'm equally excited. I do have one concern.
He's like, you don't sound
Shocking.
excited.
The one concern is at the far right, is that it feels like forcing AB, then BC, does do some limiting for the highest of highs. We've had plenty of people get 5s on BC, right? And so, and that was when it was the whole class,
Yep.
right? So it reads as though we're forcing them to take AB, then BC.
Yes,
Is that the intent?
yes.
Well, there's some shifts in the content.
Yeah, and that's why, so that's the one caution or concern I have is that it doesn't allow them to go algebra trig to
But
ABBC at the
you
same
had a
time.
rationale for that.
Right? I know there's a rationale, and
No, I think it's
yeah.
important to explain it
Yeah.
because there has been a change in the
Go ahead.
College Board.
So I have been of the mind that I tell my students, if they get credit for Calculus 1 and Calculus 2, or 3 if you go to WPI, because it's like 3 courses, or
Yes.
whatever. If you get credit for that, then they should skip to Calc 3. And some have taken that and some have not. What tends to happen is that they're fine because they're brilliant. I mean, these are brilliant kids, right? But a lot of them do come back with the mindset of, it was a big lift because kids came in knowing this, these 5 things that we didn't get to, because they're not part of the curriculum. Where those can be part of a 2-year curriculum that would better prepare them for extended success through a math pathway at the collegiate level. That's one thing. The second thing is, for some of the students who have jumped into BC as juniors, they now have this gap where they're not, and a lot of these kids are going to go and study, I can think of a kid who just came back last week who's studying physics, a freshman in college, and they were saying how the year off really wasn't great for them because now they're back in and they don't have it. So I agree that there is that one downside. I do think that if you have seniors in AB, they're going to be really prepared for what they're doing in college.
Agree with that.
And if you have juniors who go AB, BC, they're going to be extremely prepared for whatever comes their way in the math and physics and engineering path. There is an opportunity to do in the AB, BC became a class at Reading, I want to say in 2010. Prior to that, we didn't have it. We did have kids take the BC exam, and it was kind of at that point, we're going to cover this, here's some extra stuff if you want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's almost how it feels when we do it in the classroom because of the pace, because it's so breakneck.
Yep.
That,
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of kids make it to Unit 8, which is the AB curriculum, and then we get to 9 and 10, and they just go, wow.
Yeah, so I
Because it
mean.
is, spring of senior year, and you get it all that stuff. so.
Totally get that, and I guess this isn't even for personal stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, mine,
Yep.
in my personal case. I had one who did really well with AB, and that's where he stopped, and it was awesome for him, and he did great this year, and got credit. The other one who did BC, but only did well in the AB test, right? But there are others, and we have some that are coming up, that are coming through 7th grade right now, that I could totally see taking AB, BC at the same time, kicking butt, and then not stopping and going to dual enrollment related stuff,
Well,
right?
that definitely could be an option. I mean, and those students, I've heard, they're very bright students coming up. One student in the middle school is currently taking a class at the high school. Those are pretty isolated cases
Yeah.
where we would find some sort of an opportunity for them, as well as we're exploring and adding, we added 1/2 of AP Economics last year. I know it's not the same as BC Calc. We're adding the other, we're hope to, AP Computer Science principles in addition to the other AP
Yep.
Computer Science,
Yep.
as well as stats, business, and finance.
Yep.
Dual enrollment, we've had added a ton of dual enrollment, which is always an option. I always want to find the dual enrollment that is the best experience for the student, which is sometimes hard to do, because I don't love asynchronous. We do that sometimes. I think I'd rather have them that authentic experience with a college professor, even if they can't be here every day. But if we have students in that situation, we'll definitely do it.
Yeah, I mean, and all the feedback, Trey, you and I have talked about this at soccer fields, on soccer fields at times, right? So it's not, I get it. I just want to make it just feels like we're doing that one box, right? We're blocking that one box. So we've done all this great stuff, all the green arrows. I really do love everything on the left side of that, right? I want us to be cautious, and, I also want to be, I'm concerned about myself conflicting with myself here, because I want to be careful that we don't create so many classes that we have 5 kids in a class and we need so many different teachers as well. So I think that's the other challenge on this, so I'm aware of that too. But if there was some way to say that there is also A, B, B, C at the same time like there used to be, then this would be perfect.
Like there currently
Like
is.
there currently is, yeah. Then this would be perfect in my mind, and it would allow a lot of the, like, full flexibility. I think it has all the flexibility on the left, and we just removed flexibility on the right. And I understand why. I'm not saying it's wrong. Well, I'm saying I disagree with it. I'm not saying your logic is wrong, right? If that makes any sense.
No, I know what you're saying. And that would be the offering in that fifth column, both an AB standalone, a BC, which is the full 10 units, as opposed to the other one, which it would be a BC after AB
Right.
plus, BC plus.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever you want to call it, yeah. So, sorry, Sean, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, it's good. One of my questions was in the same vein, so I'll consider that one addressed. My other question, so echo everything they said about sort of the, broadening different pathways here. I think it's great. I just have a question about the pre-calc class that's 3 units instead of 4.
Yeah.
What's in that 4th unit that doesn't get covered? And are we worried about, what's the incentive for a student to take the pre-calc class that's an AP class that they get, the same GPA waiting for and all that? Presumably, they're equally as prepared for AB, given that we're providing this as a pathway into AB. What's to incent a student to take the 4-unit version versus the 3-unit version?
So the 4th unit is parametrics, vectors.
So like they just have to geek out on math, is that the answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too
But a
that,
lot of that those topics are applicable in the higher physics courses.
Okay.
So there is a lot of overlap between that and the Physics 1 AP course in terms of, if you are in that course, then you're going to see a lot of the same topics.
Reinforce each
The
other.
idea is that, I guess, the 4-unit one would be more of a, we're here to get you to AB, where the 3-unit one, in our estimation, would be more seniors. But if there are juniors in there, they can still jump back up into AB.
Okay.
and the goal is to open up opportunity to more students. So right now, the pace of the AP, and our scores are amazing. Like, I'm not bragging because I don't teach it, but other people here do. And so that's great, but what that means to us is there are probably more students that could take that content, that could achieve a little bit more challenging math. So I see that there will hopefully be more students coming from the Algebra 2 CP trying the AP pre-calc that haven't been doing it since we started it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and we're in the 3rd year of the AP pre-calculus, and each year we've had between, I want to say, 6 to 10 kids drop, and they go from that AP course into CP. And some of the feedback from the CP teachers is, boy, I wish we had something in between.
Right.
Right, so this is kind of that in between. Cynically, nothing. Nothing is to stop a kid from saying, I'm going to take the 3-unit one.
Okay.
Ideally, the way the courses are described in the program of studies, they will choose the more challenging course because it's known as a more challenging path.
Right.
Right, in the same way that there is no difference in weighting between BC calculus and AB calculus, even though BC covers 20% more material.
Okay. And I think your point about sort of the better preparation for the advanced physics courses and whatnot is a good one as well. Lina and team will sort of make sure kids get to the right place if that's part of their path, so.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that did inspire this a couple of years ago in my head was the physics splitting, the physics C, which is a calculus-based physics, splitting into 2 years, and which is probably the right idea, given the depth of the course. It's a lift.
Okay.
But those kids are doing a calculus-based physics class as juniors.
Right.
While they're sitting in pre-calculus. So every kid in there who has a calculus background or is currently in a calculus course while they're taking that class makes that class more successful for everyone else in there because it's not just the teacher, it's the other kids in the room who can assist with the nuance of the math, and they can focus more on the physics.
Makes sense. Any other questions?
As far as the might require supplemental work pathways from Algebra 1 CP to Geometry Honors and then Geometry CP to Algebra 2 Honors, would those continue to be options that are provided through summer school availability? Or would that then, are we back to requiring outside?
So there's summer school, to me, is you didn't pass the class, you're taking summer school. The only thing that we offer right now, we do offer a summer geometry
Right.
course. That could potentially, still happen, and kids could take that if they wanted to give up that time in their summer to skip over, to get to the Algebra 2 sooner, faster.
One thing we've noticed over the last few years is that it has been nearly impossible for a kid to jump out of CP into honors and
Okay.
be successful.
Yeah.
The idea here is that if we can give the kids who need the most on-hands assistance in those foundational courses, the Algebra 1 especially, then the CP courses can beef their curriculum back up to where it was possible for a kid who had an A
Okay.
over those 2 years to say, I'm going to go to Honors Algebra 2
Okay.
and be successful.
Okay.
The might require additional summer work is really kind of an independent thing.
Okay.
You're going to jump up, we recommend you do this.
Okay,
We'll
but
see what
it wouldn't
happens.
be a situation where it's like you have to find a class to take that would
No.
fill in?
No, that's not the intent of
sorry,
it at all.
sorry.
It would be more of a supplemental request,
Okay.
suggestion
Polite
maybe?
request.
In your best interest, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
And the option to take Algebra 2 double up on Algebra 2 and Geometry is still available?
Should be.
Is the requirement, if you're taking Algebra 2 honors, that you have to take CP Geometry?
Algebra 2 honor,
No,
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 it's
no.
not a requirement. You could be in,
'Cause that,
if you doubled up, you could be in both honors classes.
okay.
I would like to reduce the need for students to double up, because that is very hard for kids to do, fit everything in their schedule, and to do 2 math classes at the same time. It's hard, especially when they're usually sophomores.
Because I know in the past that you had to take like a CP Geometry when you took Algebra.
Oh, no, yeah, is that true?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, one of my daughters did that, and they said, no, you have to take, if you're doubling up, you have to do it that
oh,
way.
I don't,
Yeah. But that was years ago.
it
They're
was
all-
recommended, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you
this
both.
is
This is
great.
great. Yeah.
This is great.
Despite Tom's reservations. Teasing.
We'll try to figure that out.
This credit card.
Remind me not to go to a soccer game with you. That's my takeaway.
You would be on the field out there coaching together.
Tom, I would point out that that's year 5.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time before that would come to fruition. So we can work out any of the kinks or address whatever the concerns are over the next, year or 2.
So that makes me ask the question of implementation then.
That's the question. As I've told them, the pre-calculus 3 unit could start tomorrow.
Yes,
Right,
but
like
the
that is-
BC one
So,
might be delayed a year or 2 before we do that
well,
only?
the
ideally,
kids in the
ideally, we
classroom,
would like
yeah.
to have the integrated 1 next year, the Algebra 2 with trigonometry next year, as well as the pre-calculus 3 unit next year. If there's a realistic pick 2, then it would be, next year would be pre-calculus and the integrated 1.
But the kids that are currently in the calc class are already receiving the full curriculum. It's not broken already, so they will
Right.
have finished.
So next year, we're still going to have the existing BC class as
Yes,
it is?
that is correct.
Right?
Yes.
And then maybe as this evolves, if we agree that that's the right thing, or you guys still hold strong that that's the right thing, then maybe we lengthen out, or make them take AB and lengthen out BC.
Yes. So that one is
Still to be determined.
Within a couple of years.
the,
It wouldn't be
whatever
5.
color that is, I don't know, not green. That box is the.
Coral, let's call it coral.
Sure. That is definitely the longest delay on any of these.
Okay.
Okay?
Can I ask a clarifying question? 'Cause now I'm more
course.
confused. So if a junior right now is in AP Pre-Calc and excelling,
Yes.
they could take BC next year?
No.
No.
That's one of the things. So first of all, the juniors, and this is, this does go back to a little bit like where this comes from, which is having the kids skip and why they're able to skip and who gets to skip. Right now, there are 4 juniors in BC Calculus. There are none who are in AB Calculus. We have had a couple juniors in the past take AB and then turn around and take BC the year after, which seems a little unfair because there was.
There's so much overlap, right?
There's, yeah, 2/3 of the class is redundant. And here they are receiving 2 AP math courses when they're really only doing what other kids do in 1 year. So that's always been a little bit stuck. Right now, the 4 juniors who are, the 3 juniors who took it last year, they're now seniors, are all doing kind of an independent study. And the 4 who are in it this year approached me yesterday about, would you be willing to run and I was like, oh,
I don't
like,
even know what comes in, so it's calculus.
yeah,
Is
it's
that
Calc
what's
3, it's
called? Okay.
multivariable
Multivariable,
calculus
okay.
or linear algebra or a
Okay.
combination of the 2.
Okay.
And, yeah, they want me to run their independent study for that. It's like,
With all your free time.
yes, exactly, yeah.
But to re-ask her question, I think she said if they're a junior in pre-calc, a junior in pre-calc,
Okay.
Yeah.
can
And
they, as a
Rather than
senior,
calculus, I'm sorry.
and a senior, they can take the BC next year?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely,
so
yes.
they could choose, depending on how well they're doing in pre-calc and what
Yes.
kind of challenge
Right,
and
exactly.
pace they want as a senior.
As it stands right now, the kids in pre-calculus still have that option next year for AB or BC.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Right.
Right, now I think we're done.
All right, thank you. Great, thank you so much.
Okay,
Long-running goal.
let's move to
This has been a long-running
fees.
goal, so thank you.
Let's move to fees, and I think, Phil, we are kicking it to you.
I'm up. Excuse me. I will preface this by saying that discussing fees is one of my least favorite topics. If you went through the memos that came out, one of the goals that we did, because this is was done just 2 years ago, so we're trying to get more on a more regular schedule to review the fees, so we don't have big increases when we go and do it. Also, we tried to keep the fees as low as possible. You see that there aren't, I don't want to use the term insignificant or minor, but they're not big increases. And we've also, across all of them, have kept the family caps unchanged. So I want to keep that in mind as we go through this. Also, for anyone who's looking at this, you'll see that we use the word approximate increase because I decided to round off the increases to whole percentages. Instead of having 5.3, I just said 5. So yes, it will be off a little bit if you want to calculate the math on that. But we'll start off with transportation fees. We are proposing that we increase the current fee from $475 to $500, and that's for 1 student, and from 2 students from $850 to $900, and the family cap will stay unchanged at $1,200. So that's an approximately 5% increase over the current rates that we're paying right now. You know, this is one of those situations where we're required, as we all know, we're required by law to provide transportation. And so in order to meet the law, we require 2 buses. And if you round it off, each bus this year is costing us $90,000. The law also allows us that if we have space available on the buses, we can offer it up to other students who are otherwise not entitled to a seat, and we are allowed to then charge a fee for allowing them to ride the bus. And so if you look at this, and if you did some quick math, what we're charging at $500 is about 1/3 the cost of what it costs us for a student on a bus, assuming we can fit 60 students on a bus. You have 60 students on a bus, you're paying $90,000 a year for the bus, that's $1,500 a student for transportation. So, you know, it's just a way for us to help offset some of the cost of transportation. If you look at over the history over the last 20 years or so, if you go back to like 2009, 2010, at that point in time, the fees that we collected were covering about 40% of our transportation costs for regular transportation. I'm leaving out special ed and all the other stuff. Now the fees that we're collecting are covering somewhere between 15 to 18% of our costs. And by increasing it by 5%, we'll stay within that 15 to 18% range for next year as well. But you'll also see that if you look at, right now, we signed a 3-year contract with the bus company with 2 1-year renewals, and each of the renewals coming up are over 5%. So again, we'll be keeping, the increase is pretty much keeping in line with what the increase is in terms of the contract with the bus company. So that is our proposal, $25 increase for 1 student, $50 increase for 2 students, and 3 or more, no change.
Do you want us to go through all of them or pause one at a time?
Yeah, why don't we take one topic at a time? You good on the transportation topic, Phil?
Yes.
For any questions? Go ahead.
I don't even know how bad, when did we last change our rate that we're charging people?
2 years ago.
So it's 24? And what was it at that point? Was it, I mean, you weren't here, Phil, so I don't know if you have the records, but or if you know it off the top of your head.
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I didn't go back and look. Shoot.
450, something like that?
It's got to be probably around 450 or 425.
So we used to pull in 40% to cover the cost. We're now pulling in, I would say it's approximately 25% if I look at the 53,000 versus the 211,000.
Yep.
So the 2 buses we have, those are mandated for what? Students going to Killam and students going to Parker?
Yeah, it's, the law is any student who lives
Outside
in
2
grades
miles,
K through
right?
6 more than 2 miles, but I think we use 1.5 miles here. So,
And then we use it for the high school as well, and that's where most of the revenue comes, is high school?
Yeah.
Or do we have elementary and middle school students that are
we have a
opting-
pretty good spread across the 3.
that are paying?
Yes.
Because it's required or because they chose to, or a combination?
Well, we wouldn't have to have any buses for the high school because there's no requirement for the high school. So we have enough students up there that each of our buses have 3 tiers. So the first tier does the elementary school, second tier does the middle school, and the third tier does the high school, not necessarily in that order because the middle school actually gets out before the elementaries. So that's how the groupings are done.
So we have to have the 2 buses for Killam and Parker, and we're just reusing them more to do the rest of it.
Yes.
Is
Because
our rate just flat daily, no matter how many times, or how many routes they
it's a
run?
flat rate.
I'm struggling with the fact that we're only getting a quarter of our cost covered. That's what I'm struggling with, but at the same time, I don't want to throw a bunch of cost on the families either, so.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to balance as well, because, if you raise it to, say, 800, a lot of those kids will just drop off, and, we've gone beyond the point where people are willing to pay for it. If you look at other districts, we're in line with a couple other districts. Some districts are lower, some districts don't charge at all. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah, I sort of agree with your sentiment, Tom. I wouldn't necessarily support a significant, overnight raise here. I do worry about us not keeping pace with the increased cost on our end, at least. And I'm just looking at your projections here. From 26 to 29, looks like our annual cost is going to rise by about $34,000. If we just raise the fees at this rate, we're only going to recover $7,500 of that. We're blowing up, $28,000 hole in the budget, essentially. It's starting to get to real, it's starting to become real money.
In a time when we have to worry about real money.
In a time we have to worry about real money, yeah. And I certainly appreciate that there's there's like a supply and demand question here. When do you start having people opt out?
Yes.
I don't know that it's at $500 when you're at less than $3 a day. I don't think we're at that tipping point yet. So, maybe this is the right answer for this year, but, going to 525 next year, which would only be another 5% increase, maybe next year is the year to go to 550, and, then your sort of 2 or 3 year average is more similar to what we're seeing in rate increases. We're certainly not trying to turn this into a profit center. I just don't want to see it blow a bigger and bigger hole in the budget.
Yeah, it's never going to be a profit center.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how big is the hole.
No, it's just, $50,000 a year is out of the operating budget is half a teacher, or, a little over one para. It's
Yeah.
always the way I've looked at it. I always would tell people in a prior district, every time you saw a yellow bus go down the street, there was a teacher going down the street, because it was a comparable cost.
Do you have any idea how many families we have in the 1, 2, and 3+ buckets?
Off the top of my head, I do not. I can get that information for you and get it back to you by next week.
I'd be curious to look at some of the 2, 3 numbers as well. The fact that we're keeping 3 flat, I mean, I know there's 3 kids, and that's a lot of money, $1,200 is a lot of money, but I'd love to see the distribution of this if possible.
Okay.
Obviously anonymized, I don't want to know who it is, but,
That was actually one of my questions, like why keep the 3+ flat? Just because we feel like it's already a high number? I mean, we're raising everything else.
I wasn't here when this was done, but I'll give you my personal perspective on it. Once you get up to $1,200, it's real money, so to speak, and it looks awfully expensive. But again, back to Mr. Wise's question, I'm not sure how many families we have that have 3 or more students taking the bus. So I will get that distribution.
It is a large number, but it's also an optional service, right? I mean,
Yes.
and significantly cheaper than a childcare arrangement or, some other transportation arrangement that a family might make. So, I agree I think we should look at it and understand what the numbers are. It's probably vanishingly small, but, we should look at it. I'd be supportive, we go from 500 to 900, so we increment that second kid 400. I'd be supportive of doing the same thing for the third kid and having it not cost as much as the first rider, but,
but only costing $300 more for the third
right,
rider.
yeah, go to 1,300 for, for the 3+ situation. So, I'd be surprised if it's more than you can count on one hand in terms of the number of families this applies to. So it's probably not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but I do think just from a fairness perspective, that's probably appropriate. So do we, I mean, none of this has to be voted on tonight.
No.
Do we want to sort of get some of these questions answered from a follow-up perspective before we vote on this one? Okay.
This feeds into the budget conversations in
Yeah.
January, but we can certainly pick it up. It's good to pre-plan for the budget, but.
Yeah. I think my overarching thought on this and probably some of the others is we're not in a position to increase the amount that we're subsidizing some of these fees, right? If we have rising costs, we probably need to be as close as we can to sort of passing those on, particularly in some of these optional services like this. Dr. Corum?
Jeffrey Corum, Ridge Road. I grew up riding the bus to school all the time. I'm always just sort of a different perspective. I think that I'm always surprised at the traffic jams that we see around, particularly the Birch Meadow, Coolidge, or MHS area, that all of the cars that are here, all of the time that, people get stuck trying to drop their kids off, like in the turnaround at Birch Meadow, for example. Do we actually, in fact, have extra para-staffing needs because we need somebody out there directing the traffic? And, I understand that we want to save money, but are we saving money on the buses only to end up spending it on additional crossing guards or additional paras to, I don't know, it just somehow, I want to kind of encourage us to, use the buses, which I think are more efficient in terms of getting a bunch of kids together and not having a whole line of cars idling, waiting at the pickup for Coolidge or something. Anyway, just another piece to consider.
Are you advocating for universal busing or just warning us against reducing the existing ridership?
I think, universal busing has some benefits, but I don't think we see that in the budget right now, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're wearing your FinCom hat when you say that?
Yeah, I mean, just speaking for myself, I certainly agree. I mean, we don't want to raise fees to the point where they're, cutting ridership significantly. When I think about the alternatives for the families who are choosing it, I don't think we're in the neighborhood where that's likely to happen en masse, right? But yeah.
Well, and just to add to that, right, I mean, it would be good, to look at this as well versus other needs these families may have, right? If there's a way that we can do it in a way that if a student or a family simply can't afford more, and we need to account for that, then we should account for that.
We do in the fact that.
Not all of our community is in that bucket. And quite frequently, most of our community is not in that bucket, but for those that do need it, we should figure out how to manage both.
Students who are eligible for free lunch do not pay for the bus.
Okay, so that answers that
The
question.
fee is waived. And I believe for reduced, it's either waived or it's reduced.
The only caveat to that is I think we've seen less, maybe keep me honest if that's the case, but I think we've seen less applications for the free lunch because everybody gets free lunch right now.
Right.
Right, so I want to be cautious that they may not be aware that they're eligible because they're no longer applying because everybody's getting free lunch.
But it impacts all their other fees. It impacts the
So,
athletic,
yeah.
participation fees. So it is worth
in-
it to families
Yes.
to fill out
The
the
families are
application.
reminded for all the other fees that,
Yeah.
please send that in.
Yeah, okay.
But that's a good, that makes me want to raise them even more, to be quite honest. Because that was my thought. I was like, well, who's using the bus? What's their situation that they, are not in a position to get their child over to school? But, yeah.
So to make sure we have we'll give a little bit of a distribution of the 1, 2, 3 riders, but then maybe also a couple of proposed, is it easier if we just lay out a couple of options
Yeah.
of
A, B,
increases?
C, Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the numbers, because
Yep.
some of it might not move the needle much, and some of it might.
Right, I mean, if everything is in the one rider versus 2 rider versus, right, it's good to understand the distribution, how the math works.
Sounds good. We'll have that ready for upcoming January meetings.
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to move to driver's ed?
The next one in the packet is proposed fee changes for the driver's ed program. We're proposing a $40 increase for the driver's ed class from $710 to $750. An increase from $15 an hour to $20 an hour for the additional driving lessons, and a $5 increase on the road test sponsor from $95 to $100. If you look at what we're charging compared to some of the other programs around, we are still the lowest by at least $100, if not more, dollars. On some of them, we're a couple $100 or $300 less. So again, this is just, this increase is proposed for the most part to cover increase in the costs for the folks who are running the classes. Luckily, gas has been pretty flat, so that's not as much of an issue, but the town did come through from the capital side and we bought another driver's ed car out of that as well.
Are we using both? We're not using both of those cars at the same time.
We are right now.
We are?
Yes. Which has been, as some of you have talked about over the years, how difficult it was to get road lessons. So I think now families and students have said having both sort of on the road has opened up doors for kids to be able to have more consistent access to driving lessons, which has been really helpful. That won't last forever, just given the condition of the
Right.
car that's been on the road a little longer.
What's the rationale for being so much lower than other comparable programs?
Well, part of it is we're not a for-profit, so, you take out the profit
Sure.
margin right out of there. And, we're also trying to do this, part of a benefit to the student population as well, so. We want to make sure we cover our costs, but, we don't need to be making a 30% profit margin.
So that goes to my question. Are we covering our costs?
Yes, we are.
All
Yes.
of them,
Yes.
including debt service on the car and everything else?
I didn't calculate the debt servicing on the car.
Did we buy it outright from the capital, so we own it, or is it
Yeah,
being?
no, we own it.
We owned it outright, so there's no debt service at all then?
They didn't take anything, they did not take any debt out to pay for that.
So we could amortize it, cover that, but it's a depreciating asset.
Well, then we'd have to change our entire accounting.
I'm not being serious. I'm
We could go
just-
to
I'm giving-
accrual
Tom's
accounting.
digging for an excuse to ask for a bigger number here, so I was trying to help him out.
We got to remember, this is, we're in the public sector. We work on a cash basis
Yeah.
for the most part. So
Dr. Corum?
that's our proposal for this one. Do you want to hold off on approving until later?
Take-
Sorry, I'm just curious, you had nice comparisons against the commercial programs. I wondered, in the light of comparing with others, whether we looked at other districts, like, Woburn, that's also served by the Tri-Town Oregonus. How do we compare? Are we, if they're closer to the commercials, then I could see us going up. But if they're providing the same service for their students as well at a lower rate, then I would stick with what you've got. Thanks.
How many driver's ed lessons do they get for their $1? Is it 10?
I should know this.
I think it was 10 it's 10 for iDrive, so that's why
Yeah,
I
I
was
forget how many
asking.
hours it is, because the state keeps changing the requirements.
Okay.
Depends how long. I mean, there's it's hourly requirements that you have to
Yeah.
meet too.
Okay. Just take the pulse here. Are we ready to take a vote on this one or further discussion on this one as well?
We could approve this one.
And I could raise it a little bit, too.
Yeah, I could too, but I mean, we're not, if we're saying our P&L is flat with this,
Yeah.
we're not making money, we're not losing money, I could approve this.
That's where I'm at as well. Do we have a motion?
Motion? Do you want,
Just-
move,
yeah,
do you want
just the
fiscal
driver's ed
year?
piece.
Right. Move to approve the driver's ed fees for fiscal year '27? Or do you want the school year?
No, that's good.
Second.
Seconded by Tom. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It carries 5-0. Thank you. Let's go to extended day.
Next one's extended day, and I'm going to let the superintendent take the lead on this one.
Great, so we are not seeking a vote tonight on these, just wanted to talk through with the committee, just one thing that we're talking through internally at this point, open any feedback tonight or moving forward. One, the question for us around extended day and whether or not we build in some of the enrichment programming into the costs, so you'll see that also as sort of listing what those costs would be, or whether it would be a pay for the additional enrichment blocks, which is our current model right now too. We have put out a survey to all current extended day families asking for their input on this. Survey went out early this week. We've already had 100 respondents. Survey will be open until first week of January, so I'll share that feedback with the committee, so that can just help inform your perspective as we figure out the best path forward here too. So again, just wanted to start the conversation and think about that's really our big decision point here, outside of just what we think is a pretty small increase to the tuition.
Go ahead, Erin.
I've lost track with some of the changes. Can students who are not in extended day partake in the enrichments currently for a fee?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a determined fee.
Yes.
For those enrichments.
Yes.
And we have space in the enrichments for non-extended day kids.
I don't know for every enrichment in every school, I can't confirm that,
Okay.
but I can find that out.
Okay.
Are the fees the same for students who are in extended day participating in enrichments versus students who are not in extended day participating in enrichments?
I'm not sure. I can find that out as well.
Yeah, I don't think they should be. I
Yeah.
think students who are not already in extended day should pay more for the enrichments, right? They're getting sort
Little
of more incremental value, if you will. So just, maybe it's just something to kick the tires on as we
Yep.
consider this more fully next time.
Great. Any other questions or things for us to consider as we?
Yeah, I guess, just in looking at the numbers, what I want to understand is so let's say it says, after school, 3 days a week. With the enrichment is $335 is what we're proposing. If a parent instead was like, well, I can actually pick up at 4 o'clock, I just can't pick up at 2:45, is that how much 3 enrichments would cost? You know what I mean? Like, is it sort of comparable? Is it less? Is there a savings there because you don't need your child to be at the school until 6 o'clock? Does it, allow some families to bypass extended day, but take advantage of the enrichment to get some extended childcare, just sort of exactly what the options are for families, if that makes sense.
Great.
Any other initial thoughts this evening? Tom?
I'll just say I like the optionality, right? If I don't want or can't afford to have my child engaged in the enrichments, I don't want to have to pay for the enrichments. But I also want to say that with 3 enrichments included, do I get to choose which 3? Right? You know, there might be 5 offered. Do I only want 3 of the 5? Or is my child forced into 3 that he or she may not like? And so I just, to Aaron's point about providing some of the clarity around that would be good to understand. And is it, right, if it's, maybe some of our enrichments are more expensive than others as well, right? So how do we manage that properly? So I like the idea of giving the options of building it into the price. I agree with Sean that if you're coming from a extended day just to do the enrichment, it should be a little bit more. But I also want to make sure that the optionality of, I don't need it from an enrichment perspective or don't want it from an enrichment perspective is maintained.
Great. For our next conversation around this, we'll do 2 things. One, we'll get we'll get you the survey data. 2, we'll get some clarity from Chris Nelson around some of these programmatic pieces too, and maybe see if he can be present for some of those questions as well. I think those are all good questions.
Can I say one more thing that I know came up this past fall when I was talking to parents about this? If someone did want to go the route of just paying for enrichment and not paying for extended day, like separate it out, what's the continuity in that? So if you're a parent who needs that every week, are we talking 6-week cycles and then 2 weeks off in between, or is there continuity for the year? Because I know that was a concern that some families had, that they need to rely upon that continuity.
Extended day becomes your insurance policy at that point in time, right? You have to pay the insurance policy to get access to the enrichment.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have some follow-up on that one. Let's go to athletics and arts fees.
Do we have to?
We do.
Let's do the, what I think would be the 2 easier ones first, which would be drama and the band. And for both of those, we're proposing a $10 increase. It's a little bit higher in terms of percentage increase for drama, and that's because drama for the last couple of years, we've not been covering our overall costs. The costs of the licensing fees on some of the shows that they've been showing have been very expensive. And I also think we need to raise our ticket prices, but that's just a personal comment on that. And so that's in terms of the drama for $10, and band is just about breaking even. We're a little short, so the $10 increase will get us back up to break even on the band. And again, we're we're proposing to not change the family cap on both drama and on the band. And then finally, the third rail of this is athletics. Right now, again, we are just proposing a $10 increase on athletic fees with no change in the family cap. Right now, the athletic fees for the last 4 to 5 years have been covering around 35% of the overall athletic budget. And this increase should keep us at that percentage for the next, at least for the next year. Now, if you look at the package, in the back of the package, there were some comps in there. There are schedules that are all over the place. Some have different fees for different sports and all that, depending on how complicated you want to make it. That's really up to, from my viewpoint, that's up to the committee to decide how you folks want to proceed with this. But that's where we are in terms of what we're proposing for these 3 programs.
I have some questions. Anybody,
You want me to be unpopular first, or do you want to be unpopular first?
No questions on athletics.
Somebody else can start. I'll sit back and let
I can start. So I have a few thoughts. One, and Sarah McLaughlin is at the choir concert tonight, so she couldn't be here, and she asked me to raise this, and I totally agree. It's never occurred to me before, but it's a little bit odd that our caps apply sort of per segment versus having any kind of cap for student activities holistically. And what I mean by that is if you've got a family where all the students are all in on, drama, they're capped out much more quickly than a family that has 2 or 3 kids at the high school that have a variety of interests, right? And they might hit the athletics cap and the band cap and the drama cap. And so, doesn't mean the students are doing any more activities at the high school or getting any more, sort of support from staff and whatnot. But because of the way our caps are structured, that, family B could end up spending 2.5 times what family A does. So that's one thought. The other thought, and I wonder if this is where you're going to go, Tom, actually, 2 more thoughts. You made the comment that historically, the athletics fees cover about 35% of the costs.
Over the last 5 years.
Over the last 5 years. I'd love to know how that compares to the percentage of costs that are subsidized, if you will, for the other activities, for
Yeah, I have
for
the same
band and
question.
drama. My sense is the percentage of fees that's covered for band and drama is probably higher than 35%. And so to some degree, you could argue we're subsidizing athletics at a higher rate. That's just my hypothesis. And then the third one is, this is a third rail, is as we think about different sports, we've talked about it and been afraid to talk about it in the past. Does it make sense for us to charge equal, it comes back to this question of fairness. Sports that are more expensive, should we be thinking about the fees more differently? If the intent is that the family is bearing the brunt of about 35% of the costs, should we be thinking about a fairer model that sort of makes that consistent across different sports? Otherwise, you literally have families in low-cost sports subsidizing families in higher-cost sports. So those are my 3 questions. Sorry to have questions about athletics. They're not really for you, Phil. They're kind of for
No, but as I said, you look at some of the comps from other districts, they do that. And some of them
Yeah.
get down to excruciating detail where it is essentially by sport, it's a different price.
Your comment that 5-year average is about 35% is helpful, because I think we should be thinking about this in the context of a benchmark of the fees for student activities that are borne by the parents versus being subsidized by the operating budget.
And to put that in perspective, prior to COVID, from 2010 to 2018, it was running closer to 40 to 45%.
Yeah.
For athletics.
Yes, the fees were covering 40 to 45% of the budget.
And do you know offhand for the comparable ones for the band or the drama?
At the top of my head, I believe the fees that the folks are paying covered 100%.
Interesting.
So, it's.
Well,
Well, for band.
Drama, they have ticket fees and
Yeah.
stuff for
Yeah.
performances.
I'm sorry, I forgot, yes.
Yeah.
Well, but so do some of the teams.
They bring in enough revenue with the fees that they're collecting to cover all their expenses.
Yep.
I misspoke on that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Of course.
So first, a clarifying one, the athletics family cap, so let's say $1,000 a family. If I have 3 kids at the high school all playing 3 sports, I'm only paying $1,000? That's a crazy bargain, first of all. Second, because I confess I have not had a child in band or drama, is there the equivalent of the fundraising for assistant coaches on the band and drama side? Are the families fundraising?
Drama, yes.
To supplement assistant staffing?
Drama, yes.
Okay, so families are paying for that.
Band is essentially all Mulligan. There's nobody but Mulligan, basically, right?
Not for the coaches, but for other things there. They still do fundraising, the band.
Band does fundraising for other things.
Yeah, but
For,
Trips and.
But not for staffing?
not for staff, yeah.
Okay, because, I always need to point out, there's so many costs that aren't even accounted for families to participate in athletics in this fee. Because there's assistant coaches, because there's uniforms, because, there's just a lot more that families are paying that's not even reflected in that.
And they vary, too.
And they vary, it's not the same by sport, but I'll just say I would be open to a discussion on tiers. I'm not sure that I would want to single out a sport, but I'd be open to, and again, just one opinion, but saying these sports are maybe at a higher tier than these sports. That's how it was at my high school when I was in high school. So, and for that very reason, that some of our athletics require renting outside spaces, and some we have the facilities here. So, you know, I think that's at least worth exploring. I would like to see us get to a point where we're covering more than 35% of athletics. It feels very low, just again, personally.
So the third rail is the rail I was going to touch as well. I'll call the sports out that need to be called out as well. Hockey, football, swimming.
Gymnastics.
Do we rent space at Army?
rent
Okay,
it?
so
Yeah.
gymnastics as well. So,
I know I just signed the contract for the swimming pool at the Y.
yeah, and that went up significantly a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So you're probably just signing a renewal of that. So I think that, I would like to think of it and see these, and I know they're not profit loss, but I want to see what the expenses are per sport. So we have some basis for our decision as we go through this, whether it's tiering, as Aaron suggests, or whether we have a drastically different cost basis on each of these. And I realize as well that some of them are not year-by-year costs, but you make an investment, like in football, you're going to buy helmets every 5 years or something like that. So we have to be careful about how we look at this as we look at it. So it's accounting for multiple years of expenses as opposed to a single year of expenses. So that's just one thing I want to be careful, I want to look at there. I'd be surprised if drama was 100% covered. I mean, I really would, if that's the case, especially considering that some of the license fees that are being paid and whatnot. If it is, I'd love to see that too, if that's great, but I'd be
Drama
surprised.
had been pretty much covering it up until the last 2 years because of the increase in licensing fees.
And those, so again, I'd like you to go back and look for other years. Because before the last 2 years, the 2 years before that, we sort of did no-name shows for 2 years or 3 years in a row. Well, if you look at some of the previous ones we did, when we did like Mary Poppins and Jeff, keep me honest, there's been some, Mamma Mia and Chicago and others like that. I would expect that it's a vastly different number, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when we were doing much more big-name shows.
But we were bringing in a lot more audience for Mary Poppins.
Yeah, so again, I'd love to see the breakdown as well of fees versus tickets as we talk about some of that too. Because if it makes sense to pay the higher license because we'll get more gate receipts in most cases, I can buy that argument. I think our drama program is phenomenal, and that's biased because I had a member of that drama department for a while, as I think Dr. Quorum still sits there and works with them on a regular basis at this point in time. But I'd love to see that. All of this, I think, is a common theme of this, is really kind of getting to the P&L of some of these, and what does it look like at the grain that can help us make decisions. But thank you, Phil.
Can I tack on one thing to that?
Sure.
So with all of these, I'm interested not just in like, what are we paying to rent ice or to get the pool at the Y, but also like, because I genuinely only know that like, I bought the swimsuit for my son to be on the swim team. Like Reading doesn't provide the uniform for swim team. I imagine, we have multiple sports and activities where we provide the uniform. I remember a whole conversation on band uniforms previously. So that's a whole other thing of what are we paying for, what is a necessity to participate, but we're not covering, that I want to make sure we're aware of before we're going ahead and saying, oh, you need to pay more to do this sport. Because technically, they already are.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's also different for the level of team you're on, right? So if you're on, and you're on the varsity soccer team versus the JV soccer team, the uniform rotations are going to varsity and not to the other sports, so they're getting handed down.
They rotate down.
Right, and then And I don't know if there's actually a schedule for how the rotation happens. It's how pathetic we look in the uniforms before we, there's enough noise to kind of change it out.
We did a lot of investment about 5 years ago when we had extra money in most of our uniforms.
I know for my children, I had 3 in high school at once, and I had between 2 and 3 children in each sport. And then I had one who was also, because she was in chorus, she was doing sports, and we were getting charged for the arts as well. And then you're talking about each team, the parents group who's asking you for money, and then you're doing fundraisers on top of that, and you're making donations for foods and, for snack bags and all that kind of stuff. And when you start adding that up, it's just, and uniforms, I mean, you're buying uniforms for tennis, the bottoms and track, and you're buying socks and, for teams, these are the parents groups that are doing it. It's an outrageous amount of money to play even one sport, and I'm not saying that the school should pay for that at all. It just would be nice to see, it would be nice to kind of not have some teams supplementing other teams as well.
I've somewhat related one more question, Sean, or point. All of this that we've talked about is, okay, this is the expense, and how can we feed family? We haven't talked about how can we have other income to support this as well. I had it in my head for a while. I think we probably have to go through bylaw committee, so it might be another issue. But I really think we need to do more with advertising around around the football field and around the field house as an income source, to see if there's something else we can do to supplement some of this budget as well. We leave so much money on the table because we don't do anything in that space. And you just heard Dynamic Sports is funding DECA, right? I love the fact that Dynamic Sports is funding DECA, but it's Dynamic Sports, and it's not funding anything for our sports programs, right?
We do banners on the football field.
No, we don't. Friends of Reading Football does, right?
Okay, I didn't realize.
And they have to
Good
take
point.
it down immediately after the game, right? They get it up right before the game, and they take it down immediately after the game, right? It's not permanent. You go to Wakefield, and you go around their field at Galvin, every business in town has a sign up, and they pay some amount, it's not a ton, but they pay some amount for the marketing that goes with having their stuff right on the soccer field there at Galvin.
Woburn too.
Woburn does, I mean, we have a sign bylaw, I think, that is against that we'd have to go back and say, hey, you're actually blocking us from making money as a town, if you allow for certain spaces. I don't think it prohibits us in the field house, but I think it does prohibit us at the high school football field. And so I think it's something we should look at to figure out if there's another revenue source here that we can be talking about.
I think we'd be exempted from that as a town entity
Maybe.
bylaw. We'd have to look at that, but
The turf too.
Turf 2 is another one, yeah.
Baseball field.
Mascarelli Field,
anybody
yeah.
have thoughts on the one of the issue that Sarah, had raised around thinking about kind of a holistic activities cap in addition to these specific caps?
I think go ahead, you go first.
The athletic one is I personally think the cap is too low. But I do like the idea of there being the ability to reach some sort of combo cap, because there are plenty of kids that are doing both, right? They're doing the fall musical, then they're playing a sport, or, things like that. So I do think we have to take that into consideration too.
They're not doing that in the same season, though.
They can't, they refuse to let them.
They're not allowed to.
They're not allowed to,
You don't have the
Yeah.
time. You could do like a select chorus and a sport, even though they still overlap.
The course isn't in here, because course is a curriculum course.
But the caps are for the year, not for the
Select
season, though,
chorus
right?
is not.
Yes, it is. Select course is a curriculum course. Trust me, I know, if she was in it for 3 years as a curriculum course, her first year it was not. It became a curriculum course her sophomore year.
Okay, well, I paid for select course for my daughter, and she did sports, and they overlapped, and we paid for it, so it's good that it's not now.
But Sean's right, though, that the cap is for the year, not the season,
Right.
right?
But you could do 2 sports and 1, I don't know, drama, band, and not meet the,
Not meet the athletics cap.
you wouldn't meet either cap, right? Because
Right.
it's calculated differently.
Or, as I did one year,
I think it's the family cap more than the student cap that was relevant, as you look at the combined view.
A
Yes.
combined cap,
Yeah,
yeah.
because with 2 or 3 students, you easily could hit the, the athletics cap and then blast through the, the total spend with additional band and drama.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe that's something to think about as well. It sounds like we're not probably in a position to take a vote on this tonight. We want to sort of explore some
More data.
tiering opportunities, and there's some specific data we want to look at. So maybe that's something just for folks to ruminate on, is what would be a reasonable number for like a family activities cap.
Total.
Yeah. Comprehensive of athletics, band, and drama. Great. Okay. All right. I'm more optimistic about this one. Facilities rental fees. Phil, take it away.
Another third rail. There are 3 groupings, so to speak. So we are proposing that for, and I can't read this because I can't wear my glasses on, for Reading nonprofits, it would be a 5% increase. And for Reading for-profit and out-of-town nonprofits, also 5% increase. And then for out-of-town for-profits, it would be a 9% increase. The thought behind this is that the last time, 2 years ago when this was done, the increases for the facilities went up 2.5% for each year. So it's a 2-year change this time, so that's where we come up with the 5%. And the 9% is just that we think we could, we want to, we want to give the benefit to the Reading locations and the out of Reading nonprofits in terms of not quite a big increase in the fees. Also, one of the things is going to be, we're not sure of what the demand's going to be like now that we've got the field house that's been renovated and other things, whether that's going to increase demand on the use of the facilities. So this is another one that I don't know if you folks want to spend more time on. If there's other information you'd like from us, and we'll be happy to get it for you.
I'm good with these personally, and I like the idea of, sort of shifting the cost structure in favor of Reading-based organizations, particularly given how oversubscribed most of our facilities are. Like, I think there's slack from a supply and demand perspective there. The one observation would be 2.5% again, and we don't want to make the price increases unpalatable, but does 2.5% keep pace with the increase in costs during this time? If it's, custodial fees, which, our contracts, our custodial contract is north of that. It's insurance. I mean, I just don't want to, we can't be, I don't think we can be afraid to pass on the increases in costs as a general rule. This probably isn't way out of step with that, but I'd be surprised if 2.5 quite gets there. So.
I would tell you that for these past 2 years, we all know what inflation's been for the last couple of years. So, 5 may be a bit on the low end, but again, it's for the benefit of for the most part, the Reading organizations. But, we may need to look at that, particularly the next time we do this, which I'm hoping we can get on a regular schedule.
what is the overall P&L for this as it stands right now?
On this?
Yeah.
These are really designed to cover your incrementals. So, if we didn't rent out, we wouldn't have any additional costs for, custodial staff. We wouldn't have any additional wear and tear. So I can't say, I can tell you that it's covering the incrementals, and you're not getting much more than that out of it. I mean, we're not using this like we are in terms of trying to offset some of our basic costs for transportation. Again, these are fees that we're getting to cover whatever our increased costs are to be able to rent the facilities out.
Which otherwise would be sitting empty during the period of time they're being rented, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Because, let me just check something here. For fiscal year '25, we brought in about a little over 325,000 in building rentals, whereas in '24, it was 225,000. So it's doing this in terms of how the rentals have been going. It's been up and down. If you look at the last 20 years, it's been doing this.
And our
So
custodial
it's hard to
expenses were that
project.
amount?
I'm sorry?
And our custodial expenses correspondingly were those amounts? They were net 0, or,
Well, I mean,
it's not perfect, right? But,
you've got electricity, you've got,
well,
I
that's
mean, there's a
part
lot
of, yeah.
Custodial should be less because there's a wear and tear assumption in here as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Should be.
accelerated wear and tear on the facilities, so. Other discussion on this one? All right, should we take a motion?
Move to approve the facilities rental fees beginning fiscal year '27.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, I'm gonna give it to Tom. Any final discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? And that one carries.
Thank
All
you.
right, Phil, we got,
Thank you. I like the
what do we
homework.
got, 2 for 5 tonight? That's Hall of Fame stuff if it's baseball, so congratulations. All right, so let's move on then for this evening, we'll move on to our kindergarten projections, and Dr.
Great.
Malachewski, you can tee us up here.
Yep, this should be pretty straightforward, too. So all you're going to see in the packet and on the screen momentarily is just kindergarten projections, basically based off of census data and also other known students who are either potentially staying in kindergarten, retained in kindergarten, or students who are sort of like what's happening with some of our students in RISE. We try to also, break down the census data now by knowing street locations too, addresses, try to start to break that down by school the best that we possibly can here to give you an early indication of sort of what our projections are looking like by school. You'll see there that it looks like there's a chance that we may need one additional classroom. We also know that we're about to jump into budget season. Budget's extremely tight, so obviously we'll have to be really creative in what it looks like for us to be able to ensure our classes have the appropriate level of staffing. But before we go down all of that road, kindergarten registration, we know will open up first week in January, so still could be off, knowing sort of how projections have been off the last couple of years with census data too. So this is just early indication. Obviously keep the committee informed as we move forward over the next couple of months during registration season.
Any questions? Tom?
So a quick observation, and knowing where the lines are, and knowing you can play the game if you need to a little bit. Killam 69.
Yep.
Could be 66 or less if you move people to Wood End or you move people to Birch, right?
If you count Killam as 4, and you count JE as 4, that's 4 classrooms. You're actually going up 2 from where we would need for this year. So we're assuming that Killam number is going to be going down, the number, the way that you're talking about, also knowing there's space sort of on both areas geographically. Killam also doesn't have space for another classroom right now, so there's no way we can add a kindergarten class there too. So that number cannot be above, you started to say the magic number, 66, 63, that range. So, but I don't think we'll have any problem knowing Killam geographically to shift some of the students around.
And as far as the JE students go, is there any wiggle room for the line between JE and Barrows?
Yep, for sure. Although you look at Barrows, there's not a lot of flex at Barrows. You could.
Barrows to Birch, there's wiggle room.
Correct. So we're just, and we know how we've done this the last couple of years, as we've said, if families get their registration materials in by a certain date, then they're guaranteed their homeschool. If not, we can't guarantee homeschool, and that's when we've had dozens of conversations with families to say, hey, we can't, support you in homeschool at this point, or you're a first-time family in the community, you may not have sort of family, cousins in one of these schools, would you be willing to go to the school that's sort of, like, some of these are right on the line, other side of the streets going, as you know, so families have been very accommodating. So I think this year, you'll see in the kindergarten numbers, we've almost hit like exactly where we want to be across the board. I have no worry that we'll be able to do that as well this year, too.
Do we have actual lines?
We do.
Like, I didn't think we did. Like, the whole, like, abyss of the library, I thought was gray.
No, so it's interesting. We've gone through that a couple of times with families to say, hey, I thought years ago I should have actually been here. We have sort of the packet that says this address is this school, and we haven't, Sean has it.
Okay,
And we haven't touched those.
okay.
The only spot where we touch them is if we say, hey, like, for example, Killam right now, where we're gonna have to go down a little bit, we have to get creative and flexible. Sean knows where it is.
Yeah, I've looked at this once or twice.
So I guess the other thing here is you have Birch also as +1. So you have Josh Wheaton +1, Birch +1, and Killen +1. So that's +3, but we're only asking for +1.
It's also because some of those are dropping off too on the other end.
So 3 to 3, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 3 to 4, 2 to 2. Where's the drop off?
So Birch, right, if you look at Birch,
Oh, well, I'm looking at first grade. Stupid. Okay, sorry.
you got it. Birch is a +1 and a -1.
Okay. That's okay, got it. The school, you're doing overall school adjustment, got it.
Correct.
Yeah, you've got a bubble
Killen's
class
going
that's just
-1,
floating
+1,
through.
-1, +1, -1, +1. So Killen nets out as well, okay.
And there's also spots where the numbers sort of appropriate of classroom guidelines does change over the years, and there's some spots that are right on the line in our 4th and 5th grades across the district, so I just think there's gonna be more conversations to be had as we move in the spring, as we do every year.
Those are always super well received.
Super well received, yes.
Yep.
People are really happy.
Just to call a spade here, we're not necessarily saying we're adding a body
Correct.
budget as part of this conversation right now, right?
Correct. And I'll say, if you remember last year in the budget process, we said we thought we needed an additional kindergarten teacher, and we sort of, through the budget process of, managing lines, did not need to add that teacher position. I'd also name that this year, even adding a teacher sort of is sort of not the path forward for us too, so we have to be really creative this year especially. So yes, you're correct, Tom.
Okay.
Okay. We don't have an action on this one. This is just an inform, I think, tonight. So, okay. All right, so let's move to, did I skip anything? Or are we moving to our last order of business here? Yeah, last order of business. So, again, for anybody watching at home, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that Dr. Milczewski has accepted an incredible professional and personal offer outside of the district at the end of this school year. We're going to have plenty of time to, sort of have nice rosy things to say, but I know you wanted to make a few comments before we jump into our discussion here on the search process.
Yeah, thank you, too. And I think with 6 months left in the school year, these are not going to be my closing remarks, my closing thank you. Plenty of school year left to go, but I just wanted to share a couple of things I think that relate to the process, too. One, I just want to start by, obviously, this is unexpected for me, and I just want to start by saying, first, appreciation for the entire community, from school committee, principals, teachers, staff, community members. I think we all feel really proud of what's happened in our district over the last 5 years, and just know that that's been an entire community effort, and I think that's what it takes in what is a challenging time in education. It truly takes an entire community, and this is a community that really has invested in education, obviously from top down here. So just a sincere and genuine thank you and appreciation for everyone's involvement in getting us to a position where I think many of us feel very, very proud of what's happening in our schools. So a sincere and genuine thank you for that. Two, I just want to convey my utmost optimism and enthusiasm about the position of the district and sort of where, someone would be very lucky to step into this role. Again, based off what I just shared with the community, but also a really good, strong team. I think some really exciting things in place for someone to be able to step in to continue and to build on what is, I think, a district that's a really desirable district. So I just think this is really going to be a really desirable position for people, and just to say it's a great district to be able to step into and walk into, and I have a ton of faith in the team that's here as well. So again, as you start to talk about the process, just wanted to convey again my sincere appreciation much more to come over the next couple of months. And two, just want to obviously convey my enthusiasm and optimism about the future and the trajectory of the district.
Agree with all of that. I think, these searches are never easy, but we have a lot going for us. We saw the stability from a staffing perspective with Michelle tonight, in conversations with Colby. She called out that, sort of the stability of our committee and sort of how functional we are is a big deal, and will help us quite a bit. So, and she has a lot of experience with districts where that's not the case, so she speaks from experience. So we've got a lot going for us, as it turns out right now, there aren't a ton of searches sort of in our area, actually. So I'm hopeful we're going to have a lot of great candidates for this position. From a search process perspective, this obviously came together just earlier this week, so there wasn't a ton of time to kind of get the ball rolling. So what I wanted to do tonight was two things. One is, and again, I consulted with Colby on this, one is to get the committee's approval for Carla and I to begin, sort of reaching out to search firms. MASC and NESDEC are the obvious ones, and we'll, kind of see if there are any other opportunities out there. Get some proposals and potentially go forward with engaging with one of those on behalf of the committee so that we can get things moving over the next several weeks before our next meeting, with the intent being to come back to, our meeting, hopefully on the 8th with an actual sort of search process outlined for feedback and then approval from the committee. I think my bias would be to largely emulate the approach we took last time, which involved a lot of initial gathering of input from the community on what what we're looking for in the next superintendent. Certainly, a screening committee that included, a wide cross-section of the community, included folks from the RTA and other unions, included parents and staff and folks on the town side. And then ultimately, obviously, a school committee decision to evaluate a number of finalists and choose a superintendent. So broadly speaking, I think we would largely emulate that. So that's one thing, is to hopefully walk out tonight with the committee's agreement that Carla and I can kind of get that process started on our behalf. Two is, I do want, if we're going to get it started on on the committee's behalf, I do want to gather any initial input that you all have or thoughts you have about things you'd like to see reflected in that search process, so that we can, we can come back with a draft that's somewhat, as reflective as possible of the committee's desires as far as what that process looks like. So I'll open it up there for discussion. We don't need to move to a vote just yet. Thoughts folks have either on what I'm asking for from a vote perspective or input on the process itself.
So just a clarifying question. We would be giving you and Carla permission to choose between MASC and NESDEC and who we use. I'd be fine with that. I'm worried about slowing anything down. So given that we are, going to have a few weeks off for the holidays and whatnot, I will say I was extremely happy with the support that MASC gave us 5 years ago. I was a part of the initial screening, even though I had COVID during it. But I would totally trust you two to pick what you thought sounded good for us so that we could get moving on this. And I agree, I thought we had an incredibly thoughtful, collaborative, thorough process, and it got us someone amazing. So I like to think if we do that again, we can maybe get a clone or someone similar, but yeah, so I agree with just pretty much emulating, and I think it's to our advantage that, at least 4 of us went through it last time, so we know what we're walking into. And
yeah,
I agree with you in getting ahead of it and getting ahead of any other potential searches, if we could get on that side of it. Timing, and I agree that MASC was great.
She was great.
Night. Yeah.
You could almost rinse and repeat what we did, but.
Could I say?
Almost rinse, I'm looking at all the materials. I have them all on my computer.
I also dug up all those old packets and everything, and I'm of the same mind. I mean, I think we need to do we need to do appropriate diligence and get proposals from at least NESDEC, who's the other sort of viable option in this space, I think. We'll talk to MASS and others and see if they're, MASC and others, I guess MASC is not the right person to ask, but, or the right group to ask, but we'll see if there are any others that are viable currently and get proposals, but, agree with everyone's comments so far. And Aaron, to answer your question, that's what we're looking for. It's not ideal. I mean, I think I would prefer to have a little bit, obviously have a little bit more time and get proposals and have us come back and decide as a group and that kind of thing. I don't, we don't want to lose, a month or more that would cause in practice. Looking back at the timelines, not even our timeline last time, looking at timelines for searches that generally are happening, you're seeing them with application deadlines in like the late January, early February timeframe. So we've got to get the sort of district prospectus out there. We've got to obviously have time for candidates to ask questions and do their investigation and then submit their applications. So time is certainly of the essence here. So that is the ask. Tom, go ahead.
Echo what Aaron said. I think the process before worked wonderfully. If I recall correctly, we chose MASC because it was significantly less expensive. And, composition of the search committee as well. I think if you're wanting to prepare that for the 8th for us to officially vote and say so, we had 2 school committee members, 1 central office admin, 1 building principal, 4 staff members, 1 from each level, RISE, elementary, middle, and high school was the goal. I don't think we actually achieved RISE, if I look back at the numbers. 5 parents with representation across the following categories: RISE, elementary, middle, high school, CPAC, and METCO. The town manager or delegate, and chief of police or school resource officer. So it covered a pretty broad range. The network just died here. RPS guest just died. So anyway, I think, yeah, we need to escalate and move on this quickly. We're already 5 weeks behind where we were last, actually more than that, because we sent a letter to the community on November 10th of 2020. So we're going to need to get a letter to the community in early January in order to get them engaged in applying for this appropriately. So we'll be 2 months behind, which puts us into, if everything goes well, an April or late March appointment, give or take. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll come up with a great person. It's going to be hard shoes to fill, but hopefully, and I would say this as well. I was reading the charge from Chuck that was given that, and I think we should echo this as well, that anybody that is a member of the existing staff who wants to apply is granted an interview of the screening committee as a mandate, right? Doesn't mean they'll pass the screening committee, but they should be granted the interview. Otherwise, the screening committee will be generally going through all the resumes and picking, say, the top 10 or 12 they want to interview. Before they break it down to 3 or 5 that come to us.
Right. And I would expect we'll do the same thing as last time. You have to sort of protect the anonymity of applicants until you get to a finalist stage. So, we'll have to do that again as well, I'm sure, to make sure we get good candidates. Any thoughts?
Sounds good. You guys have all been through this before, and I was on one of the principal search committees for the elementary school at one point, but I'm going to follow your lead.
And I did talk to Matt today and mentioned that last time around, town manager was one of the screening committee members, and he told me he offered he's happy to help in any way, and obviously his department heads and others as well. He's volunteered them as well. So we'll certainly be able to get townside representation because that partnership is so important. So, okay. So let's move to a vote, or let's move to a motion, I suppose. I don't know what framing you have, but.
I move to approve the superintendent search process as proposed. How was that for
Yeah, why don't you try something, Tom?
Move to empower Sean and Carla in their roles as chair and vice chair to search for, find, and select a search firm to kickstart the superintendent search process, and to report back at the first meeting in January.
Second.
I think that is the spirit of it for sure. Works for me.
Good job.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed, 5-0. Thanks, everyone. That's the end of our agenda. Is there a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Seconded by Carla. All in favor? All opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.